but I see a lot of new faces, so it's my duty to tell us more about what the chamber does. So we are a recent formed chamber. In fact, we launched last Friday at the hands of chief guest. There was Shri Girish Chitare from Chitare Dairy. Our chamber is based out of Mumbai in BKC, next to the family court. There's a building called Balrama. We have our office there, and we are very much active through our website as well as our social media pages, which are listed here. In fact, last week we had 4 sessions, fantastic talks, and all of them are live and uploaded on the YouTube channel. Today's talk will also be is also getting recorded and will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. So many people have asked me that what is the chamber going to do? Why this chamber? Why it at this time? So the idea is that we want to work very closely with all stakeholders, especially for the advancement of micro and small and medium businesses. So a lot of companies are formed, a lot of startups are coming up, but they need to reach a critical point beyond which they can, get like that exit velocity. So our key word here is advancement. We want to work not just on initiation, but advancing this MSME segment. We also want to make them more and more resilient. In fact, MSME has always been a backbone of Indian economy, but it did take a large hit during the pandemic, and we want them to be more resilient and be a much stronger backbone of Indian economy in years to come. Uh, why this chamber or why an SME chamber? As we all know that MSME contributes almost 30% to India's GDP. Out of 48% of the total exports have come from MSME. MSME also employs 11 crore people. And that's the reason why on December 20th, Honorable Minister for MSME, Shri Nitinji Gadkari, mentioned that this contribution should go up from 30% to 40% and export contribution from 48% to 60%. With these words in our mind, we decided to form this chamber at the height of pandemic so that we can help MSME entrepreneurs to achieve the next level of success. MSME segment is also expected to add almost 5 crore jobs in next 5 years. So some of our objectives, as I mentioned, working extensively and closely for the advancement. We also want to represent MSME sector in various forms. We want to make farmers become like entrepreneurs. In fact, on our opening day, Shri Girish Chitare sir mentioned that farmers were actually the first entrepreneurs. Because who's an entrepreneur? Entrepreneur is someone who manufactures or who makes something which is in excess of what he needs. So he makes it in excess and then barters it either as money or for other services and products. So farmer was definitely the first one to do this kind of an entrepreneurship kind of activities. Unfortunately, over last many years, they have forgotten to be an entrepreneur, and they have forgotten to actually look at farming as a business or as an entrepreneurship activity. So we want to make them stronger, make them think like an entrepreneur. Convergence is another key activity where if you have seen the series of lectures we have done, we have brought in academic researcher. Even tomorrow we have a ex-BRC retired scientist who's going to talk about uh, um, technologies available in seafood, especially seafood waste. So we are trying to bring researchers, we are trying to bring finance people, we are trying to bring government officials, bureaucrats, all of them together so that the convergence of all the different jigsaw pieces are brought together so that the MSME can benefit and take their success to the next level. We'll also be providing a lot of trainings and development activities, a lot of capacity building for these SMEs. We are planning to have a buyer seller meet probably in the 3rd week or 4th week of March, conduct a lot of study tours, participate in exhibition. All in all, be a one-stop solution for SMEs who want to reach the next level. In just 1 week, our management team has been growing, and we are very fortunate to have Professor Smita Lele, Dr. Prabodh Halde, and Dr. Prakash Kondekar on our advisory board. I thank them from the bottom of my heart for accepting our invite. We also have a very strong management team, Mr. Umesh Kamble, who's the backbone, who's also the Secretary General of our chamber, Mr. Prashant Naigaonkar, who comes with a finance background and will be managing our finance facilitation cell. Mr. Ajit Kasar comes with a wide expertise in sales and marketing, and he will be handling and helping SMEs with their sales marketing needs. Mr. Sachin Kumboje comes with a background of startups and incubation. He's already managing an acceleration in Kolhapur. Similarly, Anup Kulkarni has a very good ecosystem for entrepreneurs in Marathwada. So we want to not just cater to Mumbai or surrounding, but also Western Maharashtra will be looked after by Mr. Sachin, and Marathwada region will be looked after by Mr. Anup Kulkarni. Mr. Prashant Pradhan also brings a lot of experience from sales and marketing. So where we have identified MSMEs, two key areas where they have a challenge is sales as well as cash flow or finance management. So these are the two key areas where we want to focus a lot of our efforts in making them stronger. Ms. Arpita Doshi will be our women representative here. She will also be managing the Gujarat segment, where we want to move slowly and steadily into pan India, to have a pan India base. And Mr. Samir is also going to represent our chamber in Goa. So already we are part of 3 states, and we are growing. We're just a week old. Some of the initiatives we have planned for the month of March has been Entrepreneur Speaks on Monday. So today we have two fantastic entrepreneurs. I think I just saw Dr. Deepa joining us. So welcome, Dr. Deepa. I know you had another session. So I would like to welcome you and thank you for accepting our offer for being a speaker on the occasion of Women's Day. On
Pleasure.
Yeah. On Tuesdays, we'll be running a series of technology transfer. Last week, we looked at technologies from ICT. Tomorrow, we are looking at technologies from seafood department from BRC. The following Tuesday, NIFTEM is going to showcase their 34 technologies available for transfer. The week after, BRC, other department of BRC is going to showcase, followed by last 5th Tuesday on March. IIFPT Thanjavur is most likely to be presenting their technologies. We have also been conducting weekly knowledge forums. So last Wednesday we had Sri Vijay Atholeji, an expert from farmer producer, SFAC consultant, NABARD and Mavim consultant, talk about how we can make farmers stronger, how we can make FPO, take the best use of FPOs, what are the different schemes available. Coming weeks, we have Dr. Nagendran talk about application of palm oil in food in tomorrow's session, day after tomorrow's session. And next week, he's going to talk about palm oil's application on non-food like cosmetics, even biofuels. He's going to talk about that. And on the fourth Wednesday, we have Padma Bhushan Professor J.B. Joshi, who will talk about utilization or valorization or value addition in fruit and vegetables, especially out of Konkan. So his focus will be on jackfruit as well as cashew apples. On Thursdays, last Thursday, we had a fantastic session by CA Maheshwar Marathi, who spoke about 10 different government initiatives as well as schemes, including GEMS portal and Samadhan portal and all those things, how SMEs can actually benefit. And we have some good lineup. Most likely this Thursday, we have a representative of ICICI Bank, where they have their own startup fund, talk about their different schemes and policies that they have. Followed by next Thursday, we'll have a representative who will talk about schemes that are offered by MOFPI and Ministry of Agriculture and NHB. And on last Thursday, we will have an investor speak who will talk about how do investors look at startups, what they look in startups to come up with a decision on whether to invest or not. We also have incubation cell. We are actually in talks with 2 colleges, one in Navi Mumbai and one in Kolhapur, where we'll be co-managing the incubation cell or actually the incubation centers over there. And like I mentioned, we have planned a buyer-seller meet where we want to bring in different merchant exporters as well as category managers, distributors, where our members can present to them and actual business can be transacted. So I've gone through this list and I'm sure most of you are on our distribution list already. So you will be able to get details about our events. And like I said, there are so many different benefits of being our member. We are offering most of our programs are going to be free or subsidized for our members. We are already in partnership with NetProfa and AFST Mumbai. Even TISS has agreed to do few programs, and a couple of their interns are going to work with us with regards to policy making in food. So most of these events or white papers that may come out will be available for our members. We are also coming up with this novel concept of what we're going to call it a cashless service, where as a chamber member we'll offer you service where in case there are any regulatory or any notices that you get, the chamber will file responses on behalf of you. So this service is still been worked out. As soon as we are ready, we'll because MSMEs always struggle as far as regulators are concerned or certain different aspects, and they need not have full-time people to do it. So at a very subsidized cost, at this point, we're thinking about less than 10,000 rupees a year at a cost where you can actually take some of these services. We are also coming up with our newsletters, and different DPRs are already on our website. White paper, as I mentioned, are going to be on our website. So all of these things will be available to our member. Our office that is situated in BKC is also available for our members to conduct their own team meetings or their clan meetings if they want a space in Mumbai, because some of them might be from outside Mumbai. So this is again our membership categories. We have kept it at very nominal and based on the definition of the recent definition of micro, small, medium. So I'm assuming most of our members will be in the micro sector and with an annual membership fee of 2,500. We also want students and farmers to come to us, because students may become future entrepreneurs or job givers in time to come. So these are my coordinates. Anybody has any question, feel free to reach out to me or through this email or through this phone number.
Sorry, I joined in a little early,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to know what is this? Just one line, please. Chamber. Yeah. I mean, who has started this, or what is this exactly? Sorry.
Okay, so I'm the founding president, and like I mentioned, I don't know if you were joined when the team was displayed. So we have Professor Smita Lele, Dr. Prabodh, and Dr. Kondekar as on our advisory board, and we have Umesh Prashant Naigakar with finance background. He's worked with Lupin.
Okay. Just go to the slide before this. This one I think I saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are the objectives. And today, I know you're seeing only 13 participants who are here. It's a little bit intentional in a sense that we are actually live on Facebook. So we expect to reach around 15,000 people on Facebook. And this is also going to be recorded. So if not just today, most of the viewers will actually see these things in time to come. So that's the reason why we have limited direct access into Zoom. We expect more people to join in, but a lot of us, I have not checked, but I think most of our viewers or our members are watching us live on Facebook, where they can actually put in their questions as well. Excellent. So with this, thank you very much, and I hand it over back to Diksha.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to welcome Ritesh Mathur, sir, Honorary Secretary of AFST Mumbai, and I'd like to request him to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Deepa Bajekar, ma'am. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Naresh. Thanks for inviting us at AFST Mumbai for this event. And I must thank you and invite Dr. Deepa, old friend, and second speaker, Gokhale ma'am, for this event. It's my privilege to talk about Deepa ma'am about this. I know her from from last at least like 15-20 years. I know ma'am. She's also my senior from ICT. But let me take official introduction about the ma'am. So Deepa ma'am has completed a PhD in microbiology in 1992 from Food Tech Department from ICT Mumbai. She has like current director for the D Technology, a company comprising of dedicated dynamic doctors committed to the scientific excellence. The D Technology brings together a multidisciplinary approach consortium of scientists comprising of chemical engineers, food technologists, biotechnologists, microbiologists, and knowledge transfer experts to innovate, upgrade, translate new technology solutions to old unsolved problems of quality, consistency, productivity in food and agri products. Technologies are scaled up to the industry level with the turnkey projects, intertwining with the existing infrastructures and manufacturing units. It's amazing. Like I always heard good thing about you, ma'am. The technology has a state-of-art R&D facility at Mumbai Suburban. I think it's close to Bhiwandi, and has several projects related to elimination of contaminants in the food, developing new projects with novel functionalities, technical characteristics, scaling of the process, validation, and enhancement of the shelf life. I mean, you're doing amazing job, ma'am. I always hear very good things about you from the industry. Prior to that, like ma'am was working like from 2000, she was like leading the food testing laboratory and continued to become the MD for the Microcom Silica, a prestigious food lab which works in food, agriculture, water testing laboratory, and has some 250 chemists and analysts working in his team. And they have presence in 18 cities in India. And their tests like were valid in 170 countries across the globe, including US, Europe, UK, and other places. Her lab was accredited with the ISO 17025, like NABL certified, for 250 tests. Uh, she has experience of analyzing like 25 lakhs food and water samples and for quality, including few of mine. With her experience in microbiology safety over the years, she is currently assisting organizations in setting up SOPs and systems that will be much needed given the presence of coronavirus, the COVID-19, to help the safety of employees to workplace and coming months to set up a new norms for the operation. Very, very critical, very important in this part of the time. Uh, this is very critical given the fact that single case can result in a quarantine and contaminant for the entire family, resulting in the loss of complete business. Yeah. Just she has a one prestigious award, like Women Entrepreneur Award, at the hand of then Chief Minister Shripati Raj Chauhanji, the first generation entrepreneur at ICT Mumbai. She also was a distinguished alumni at ICT in ICT. In 2019, she won Women's Excellence Award in Dubai, and this was given by the Miss Amrita Fadnavis, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra at that time. She was also on panel of FSSAI for the Center Advisory Committee for 3 years. With amazing background and privilege to work and always down to earth, I welcome ma'am to hear from you more about the Women's Day celebration and the things you're doing.
Thank you, Ritesh. Am I audible? Quite clear?
Yes, yes.
So as I asked you, Nilesh, I believe the primary audience is going to be a lot of students and some seniors as well, right? Am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. So happy Women's Day to all the women on this forum today, and to all the men, happy Women's Day to the special women in your life. A partner, a wife, a girlfriend, or whoever it is. Okay, and I hope they're all happy today. It's strange. Every day on the 8th of March, it's like a chock-a-block day because there's something or the other happening from morning. So I'm very happy, Nilesh, to see your chamber initiative. I think it's the need of the day, and you're amalgamating all your interest areas, and I think this has finally come out as an outcome, which I'm very happy to see. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
All the students who will be listening to this either today or whenever you play this, wherever you play this recording again, the first thing I ask, and this is, I think I spoke this morning to a lot of teachers and students. It was an amalgamation of about 200 people, and there were, I think, 70% students and 30% teachers. And the whole thing I spoke about this morning was, and I will cover similar aspects, something to you. How many of us actually sit down? And this is something coming from the core of my, my life's journey. And this is exactly the way I thought to reach where I was. So how many of us actually sit down and identify what is our individuality, what is our personality? And I think if each one of us does this exercise at any stage in our lives, the earlier the better. So, hey Seema, good to see you. If you do this exercise at any stage in our lives, at any point, if you identify what are your key strengths, what are your weaknesses, and what is our individuality, I think it's one of the key areas that determine how successful you are going forward. And let me explain to you why I say this. Because, identifying your strengths and weaknesses, you can hone the strengths and, cover up your weaknesses. So if you find that individuality very, very early in life, then all the choices we make as we go forward are very, very correct with reference to that individuality. Sometimes for students, I see today a lot of peer pressure. XYZ got admission in the US. Oh my God, they got a better break in a job. Or, this XYZ is happening. So I see a lot of distraction because the social media has also led to a lot of knowledge, but it's led to a lot of distraction and different challenges that have come up. So I think one of the core exercises I recommend to every individual who wishes to be successful at any age, you can do this. I did it much later in life at about 30, 35. I sat down one day and said, where is it that I want to be? And, that's how I found my calling. So finding out what is your individual strength and weakness. And I have a certain way of running the way I live. I write down everything. I write down where what it is, so that, when the picture is very clear, you very rarely go wrong with your decisions. So finding your strengths and weaknesses and that individuality is one of the very key exercises. So for example, when I say this covers many facets of our personality. It covers many facets of our upbringing. Some of us are brought up to be risk takers. Some of us are brought up to be cautious. From all of the upbringing we've had, we have to find and search our way, right? So I was very, very fortunate. My parents brought me up to be a risk taker. Okay. So when I got my license, driving license, I was very afraid to drive. And my father, I remember him giving me the keys and said, when you reach Churchgate and bang the car, call me. So, and why I always give this exercise, that all of us have certain fears and doubts in our mind in terms of whether we will succeed, how will we work, what is the right path for us, all of this. So once you know your individuality, you know your strengths and you know your weaknesses, it becomes much better to maneuver through the challenges of life and, find that. Because if you don't know this, no destination, if you don't know this, you won't know your destination. And if you don't know that destination, then no path is going to get you there. And I mean, I may have, I'm sure Ritesh and others have heard me talk at other places. And this is what I've very, very core belief I've lived with. I have always known where I wanted to be and I've always gotten there. I don't get confused. I don't get influenced by, what other people do and how they do it. It really doesn't bother me at all. It's in my mind. And so each one of you, I want to tell you that finally, the way we work and the way we plan and the way we succeed and the way and where we reach, it's all in our own mind. You're not doing it for people, you're doing it for yourself. So the benchmark is ourselves. So the first point, and very, very critical for students, is to sit down one day and identify your individuality. I have a lot of students who come with their parents to meet me after 12th, and I think sometimes I find the parents are talking much more than the students. And what happens is, there are unfulfilled dreams of these parents and they try to fulfill them through students. I think it is the stupidest mistake any parent can make. So for teachers, for students, let them find their strength. One of the students in the morning seminar asked me, my parents say I'm not yet successful, and it's getting late. So there is no time for success. There is no late and there is no early. Your time will come when your time will come. You have to give yourself time to reach that level. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, these are lessons for all of us. I mean, at any age, this is sort of important. Okay, so finding that individuality. The second thing I would say is that when you're choosing careers for students, and for those of you who are already in careers, and for those of you who are in consulting, so many different facets, we sometimes drown ourselves in opportunity because there are so many things to do. So sometimes we become jack of all, we don't become master of one. So sometimes you have to let go of opportunities if you want to really, really, really reach the summit in life. थोड़ा छोड़ देने का, जो goal है वो goal को ही, you have to just do what it takes to reach that goal. And you're going to have a career spanning almost 30 years, right? So for those of you who are beginners in terms of students or whoever will listen to this in the future, for those of you who are students, you're going to have 30 years, right? So make sure you make the right decisions because you have to love what you do. You can only excel if you love what you do. So I'm like in my 21st year of working and I just wait for sunrise. I can't wait to get back. I'm so charged with the kind of creation I have and the kind of work I do. So, if I feel it's really, really one of my biggest thank yous in life is that I found my calling. So for each one of you, I come to my next point. So first is identifying your individuality. This is a little bit for entrepreneurship. This is a little bit for students. This is a little bit for every one of us. It's for everyone, whether you have a career or you're in academia, it really doesn't matter. So to find your calling, and I speak extempore because I just speak how I planned my life. Okay, so there is no written talk, to be really honest. So to find your calling, I think this is very, 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 very important. And when I say find your calling, what is this calling? So what is it that will get you excited? So for me, I need to have my pulse racing every morning. I cannot sit at a desk and do very routine work. It's a personality thing. So each one of us has to do this exercise, what gets our pulse racing every morning. Because once you find that now, you will find that you will reach that level of excellence. There is, you can't really miss it. So find your calling, and in finding this calling, for students who will ever listen to this, please identify, are you somebody who will sit at the desk and do a job? Are you a person? So what are the kind of traits you will look at when you look at individuality or find your calling? The kind of traits that you will look at will be, for example, are you an eloquent person who likes to meet a lot of new people? Are you someone who, likes challenges? I've met two kinds of people I've worked with. Somebody who's always wanted a challenge every day and they get bored with routine. There are another set of people who have worked with me who love routine and can't take the challenge every day. Nothing is right or wrong. Both are right. You just need to know where you fit. And once you fit, then it's easy. My father used to, tell me when I was growing up, you have to find out that when the program is on, are you on the stage or are you clapping in the audience? There's no right or wrong. You just need to know where you are comfortable. Because if you try to make your decisions in life based on what other people are doing, you will be a miserable wreck and will be discontented at the end. So figure out, you want to be on the stage taking those claps and those, when you give those presentations, or are you in the audience happy to listen and absorb? So so you have to know where you fit in all of this. So find that calling. So when you're observing, are you eloquent? Do you like meeting new people? Do you like to travel? Do you like challenges? Do you like to pursue, like in research? I'm doing research today. I was the youngest PhD in Bombay University since it started in 1857. So I was very fortunate that when I joined for my doctorate, for my master's, I had like many German publications in my first 18 months of joining UDCT. And my guide asked me whether I will take a direct jump to doctorate. It was a very important decision for me because I was married by then. And I said, yes, I'll do it. So I would open the department at 6:30 in the morning and I would close it at 6:30. The keys were with me. I was like the peon of the department, to be honest. And so the whole, for all that 1.5 years after that, and then I walked out with my doctorate and I had 6 German publications, and really my career took off early. I was only 23 when I finished my PhD. So, but when you say it's all luck and destiny. No, I think it's a little bit of planning also, and it's a lot of hard work. All the year and a half, Madam Pushpa Kulkarni was my guide. You can verify with her. I opened every morning at 6:30 after I was married, and every day I closed it. So you see, everything that you do, whether you're in academia, whether you're in business, whether you're in a job, or whatever it is that you find work to do, I don't think there's any replacement for hard work and tenacity. It's very, very critical to get there. And I think a lot of people who may be listening to this have also seen my journey. There's no rocket science to it. There's a combination of your intellect, your application skills, and right opportunities, and then the hard work to support those.
आता हे जनरली डेट नंतर हातांटा
And then there's a lot of, there's an amalgamation of all of these characteristics put together. So find your calling was the other. When I say find your calling, I say identify strengths and weaknesses. And why do I say this? Because, if you're not good at something, you're going to be miserable trying to do it. And if you're fantastic at something, you'll perhaps meet success. So for all the students out there, rather than find out when you're choosing careers or you're choosing, lines to pursue, don't look at what has scope, because scope is very limited. Next 2-3 years, there's scope in this. 5 years down the line, there may not be scope in this. There may be scope in something else. So you can't keep shifting your careers, right, based on what the industry requirement is. So rather you stick to what you love to do, because that core will never go. And at the bottom line of every career choice that you make, I think there is, at the bottom line of every choice that you make, there is something called as a knowledge. You can't be, you have to be thorough in your knowledge. It has to be exception and cutting edge. So in my case, I always believe whatever you do, just do it the very best and better than that if you can. So there's no, mediocre. There's no scope for being mediocre. So you select whichever career you do, but this is the path that I would recommend you should aspire to sort of follow. So when you're finding your strengths and the weaknesses, what are these strengths and weaknesses? Are you a risk taker? Are you cautious? Are you meek? Are you bold? Are you confident? Can you talk in public? Can you voice your opinions in public? Can you sort of chat when you're around? Can you make a point of view and stick with it, even if the whole flow is against it? Can you go against that tide? If all of these are areas, and we face this in our personal lives, in our professional lives, in our colleges, offices, everywhere, isn't it? It's everywhere. So You need to know whether you are able to stick to your idea and, take it forward. So I think finding your strengths, which, how big a risk taker are you? How courageous are you? This will help you select the right kind of career for you rather than be, miserable going forward and, feeling after 10 years, hey, I made the wrong decisions. I think it's very critical. So when I went for my MSc interview in UDCT in, I think it was 1988, 87 or 88, I think they asked me a question, why you want to do this course? Okay. And I told them I want to start a food testing lab. And 8 years down the line, when I finished my doctorate, I started a food testing lab. So I was very clear where I wanted to head. I was very clear what my goal was. And even when I started a food testing lab, and this is for all the students and every aspiring entrepreneur or entrepreneurs who are already in the market, I went and met 10 people, established stalwarts in the food industry. And I asked them whether it will be a wise decision to start a food testing lab. And all 10 of them said no. It's not about good or bad or wrong or right. They all said no because food was not a regulated business at that time. It had no law. There was no FSSAI and there was no law. Only pharma business was regulated. And all of them told me, Deepa, just do pharma. Otherwise, you will shut down in 2 years. I guarantee you. So I didn't listen to all 10 of them. Not that they were right or wrong. They meant well for me. And they're people I've respected tremendously in my years. But I didn't do a single pharma sample, and I think we did a fairly good job of the business I started. I started with one table chair, 400 square feet, and 20,000 rupees in my pocket. And when I sold the company, we had 18 offices, 9 ports we were operating out of, and also we had a joint venture with a French company, and so on and so forth. And I sold my company in 2015. So why I make this point to tell you is that when 10 people told me no, what made me still start that business, and I think this is a key thing all of us must have. It's inherent conviction and belief in yourself. I have never, ever, ever strayed away from that. I just believe in myself. When I know what I wanted, I will just chase it and get it. I don't see any hurdle in my path. I can kick anything that comes along the way. No person will influence me. So imagine 10 stalwarts who are 5 or 10 years ahead of me in the business had an opinion contrary to mine, and yet I pursued my gut. So two areas that I think parallelly I would like to bring out is follow your gut and follow your belief in yourself and conviction, because nothing can beat that for success. Okay. So there are the 2 points. And I think you need, if you're an entrepreneur and you wish to be one, I think these will be forever. Because in any entrepreneurial journey, the lows are high and the highs are low. And I'm sure most entrepreneurs over here will know that those lows are so high, only people see glamour at the end of the day, oh, wow. And how will they judge you? They will judge you with the money you made, or they will judge you with the car you drive, or the accessories you sport and wear, and the clothes. But that's not really what success is about, isn't it? It is, the success is about what it makes you as a person when you did your journey. So when I started out, I had this ambition to be, I was ruthless when I started because I had no money in my pocket. I actually, paying salaries at the end, I would lose sleep last 3 days of the month every year, of the first 3 years, because there was no money to pay. There were only 2 staff. And on the first day, my first staff who had joined me resigned on day one before starting work. So that is where the first learning came. So belief, conviction, individuality, risk-taking, entrepreneurial traits, find your calling. I've covered all this. So on the first day, I had only one employee, and she was a pharma person. And I was so happy that somebody had agreed to join a company which had no machines. Okay. So when I started on day one, I didn't have money to buy a weighing balance, zero. I had an empty 400 square feet room and a visiting card with the name of a company. And the artist who actually designed my visiting card was smiling, and he was saying, I don't know what she's going to do here. She has nothing. I had one table and chair from home, and I had few broken machines which I had borrowed from my brother's lab so that the lab doesn't look empty. And there was nothing was working except the digital display. So, and why I tell this as a real story is because this is the truth. And if I could do it, I think anybody can do it. Really, honestly, I'm telling you, all you need to do is chase your dream. And that's how I began. And then you'll ask me, how did I make the monies and how did I grow? So conviction, belief I covered, and that's the passion I followed. And believe me that when I set up Microchem, which was my first company, I would go to my office at 6:30 in the morning. I had no monies, no brand, no name behind me, and no clients, and nobody from the industry even blessing me. So at 6:30 in the morning, I would sit on my table and decide how am I going to bring clients, how am I going to, and I left a good salary and heading 65 people in my first job to do this. And then I figured out, okay, we have one thing. What is the free thing with me? I have grace cells, I have knowledge, and I have tenacity. So I started solving problems on the shop floor, and that's how I earned my machines, and the first and the second and the third. And I've never invested in a company after that. So that's how and I think at the end of 8 or 9 years, we were about 30 people, okay, and about 7,000 square feet starting from 400. So this was the real journey, and those 30 years were those going to those 30 people were some of the best years of my life, because those people who joined me then, I'm really, really thankful to all of them, because we were really zero, we had nothing, and to bring in business was, sort of wonderful. I will continue my journey as I talk of the traits and entrepreneur. I hope all the students out there, whenever you listen to this, whoever's online, live, or whatever, I hope this inspires you, because the whole purpose of spending this 45 minutes is to spark those brains and get them cracking again. All right. So when I say what kind of a career option do you have? Okay. What kind of so strengths? Sorry, I was at strengths and weaknesses and risk taking and courage. So when you select, I think you should identify these strengths and talk and belief and conviction. Having said that, I've met two kinds of people, doers and talkers. Again, you need to know where you belong. So there are doers and talkers. There are dime a dozen who talk big in the market, and there are dime a dozen who don't talk a word and just do. So you have to know, where you belong. Really, do you want to make a name? So you have to find out what your calling is, because in your head, what do you see yourself in 10 years? Be very clear about that. If you don't have this picture clear now, you will stray here, you will stray here, you will stray there, and you will end up all confused and perhaps unhappy and dissatisfied at the end. So having that picture is very important. Then I come to a very key trait that all of us need is a gut instinct. So when you look at individuality, how many of you follow your gut instinct? How many of you listen to yourself? We are one of the most intelligent companions we have. We listen to a lot of people, we listen to a lot of talks, and we get influenced by so many people who do so many things in the market. But how many of you listen to yourself? So in my case, I spend a lot of time talking to myself. I ask questions. Are you happy? Where are you headed? Have you done the right thing? Have you taken the right call? And I think it's you are your own best and intelligent companion, because you can't fool yourself. You can fool the whole world with your success. You can't fool your own mind. So I say that follow your gut instinct. Sit down and talk to it once in a while, because your gut knows you better than anybody else. Then I come to the job. When you look at a career, it's going to span 30 years, right, at minimum. So if you don't know your strengths, weaknesses, what your personality is like, you will make a mistake. So are you a desk person? Are you a traveler? Do you like exploring? Do you like challenges every day? Do you like routine? So even when you go into research, I've started this new company, which is D Technology. It's a very arduous business. Like in the testing lab business, it's very easy, because you go, you meet a client, you get a contract, you do brilliant service, you do accurate analysis, you're there, and then your service speaks for itself. So again, in that business, let me tell you, for me, I didn't have any financial knowledge. I had no financial upbringing. We are all academics in my family. But the only one thing that we were taught was that never, never, never go below excellence. So I think that business really succeeded because I didn't deliver anything but the best. Of course, we made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but none of them were intentional. If we could give it our best shot, I gave it my best shot. So there'll be examples I'll tell you. Now, for example, there was a client in Indore who wrote me an email saying that I was dissatisfied with your report, and we had a discussion on the phone. He was still not convinced that we were good. Finally, I just made a check and returned it to him. So nobody owes me anything for work they were not happy doing with us. So that was the level of commitment. So it was never about the money. It was about excellence. And eventually, of course, the client came back. We had an open debate, and we realized that it was the diffusion which was going wrong, and got down to the brass tacks, and we restarted work. But I mean, there are examples like this. How committed are you? So for anything that you do, your level of commitment will actually decide where you want to be. So I think for me, my level of commitment is very, very high. Sometimes when I work with clients, I think my commitment overshadows theirs also. It's not really my problem, but the amount of thinking process I give to it. So I think that's the other thing, which is commitment. So when you're going to spend 30 years in your career, how will you maneuver your path, when you're in a job, when you're in a huge company, a smaller company? These are very big decisions you have to make, especially for those who are starting out. Do you really want to aspire to work with a startup, because the challenges are enormous, but your learning will be fantastic? The salaries will be low, but you'll become an all-rounder. If you start with a huge company, sometimes you don't have very high quality work as a trainee or a startup, but you have good pay packages. So again, based on the environment that you come from and what your needs are at that stage in your life, I think you can take decisions as to where you want to start your career out in. And these are the decision that you make for starting out your career is going to be one of the smartest and most intelligent decisions that you will make. So my recommendation to all of you would be that halt and take this decision very, very wisely, because it's going to shape the way you sort of grow in life, and it will also shape where you reach. So don't be in a haste to take this decision. Think it through and pause on it and take a very very holistic view of understanding where you want to reach. The other the other thing is, I don't know whether we have teachers on the show, I guess on this program. The other thing is, irrespective of the career choices that you make and irrespective of the entrepreneur things, two of the biggest things that you need in entrepreneurship, and I'm sure all of those who are listening to this will tell you, I think it's consistency, perseverance, and tenacity. I think these three words, you should breathe and live them every single day of your living life. Glamour from a distance, as I told you earlier, it's people will only see how successful you are. They haven't even known, they can't possibly know your journey. They don't know those sleepless nights. They don't know those times where you don't have monies in your bank to pay those salaries. They don't know the grief of losing contracts and the whole chain that goes with it. So they don't know all of this, your journey. So my point is that consistency, why is that sort of important? Consistency is critical because unless you're consistent at what you do, you won't get perfect. And if you're not perfect, you won't be cutting edge. If you're not cutting edge, then you're just like the rest. So this is a path I follow to think. You may choose to dwell on it or find something for yourself. So I think consistency critical. Why perseverance? Perseverance because it's only those who don't give in finally who make it to the top, right? So giving in is easy. What is difficult in that? I gave up because this because very, very much in the market. I meet dime a dozen complainers. I meet very few people who say that, hey, I faced the challenge, but I found a way out of it. So here's where I come to a very critical area. So consistency, critical, perseverance, very, very important, and tenacity. So tenacity in Marathi, we say chikati, that tenacity. I'm very tenacious. And I think all entrepreneurs are very tenacious. You can't give up. Uh, you can't give up ever. So I don't give up ever. But I've seen many, many businesses that folded up, or many, many people who didn't grow or gave up because they stagnated. And it's not that they were wrong. It's just that they were just different. How to that perhaps sometimes that circumstances are not right or the opportunities are not looked at. So here's the second another lesson. So these three areas very critical for entrepreneurs. Okay, consistency, perseverance, and tenacity. Most important. Never give up. I never give up. If A didn't work, try B. If B didn't work, try C. If C didn't work, try D. If D didn't try, work E. And if E doesn't work, try F. And the list goes on. And if Z is reached, come back to A and start again. So this is how my mind works. Okay, if I didn't solve this way, then I've solved it some other way. If not this, some other. So I think tenacity is one of the very very key. And I'm a firm believer, and this is my personal thing. I'm a firm believer that the universe listens to you. So if you ask for something really badly and you get it, you always get it. And this is the way I have led my life. And it has to be right, and it has to be integrity and ethics. So that's one thing I've never strayed from. I don't do false business. I've never paid wrong people. I've never done anything like this. So I have had a very, very ethical flow in my business in terms of the kind of work we did, the kind of so for me, you can't as a leader and as a leadership for all of you, you can't preach one thing to your staff and do another on your own. So if you talk something, you got to live it, right? So I think leadership is about also demonstrating what you believe in, because if you don't do it, then nobody's going to listen to you. You can't fool them. So I think conversing with your staff and then having they should be able to emulate you, and you have to live your life by the philosophies you believe in. Then it sort of works for you. So consistency, perseverance, tenacity. The other thing is I said is excellence and perfection. So when I was talking this morning, I had really a fantastic question. Where does perfection end and where does obsession begin? And I think I want to cover this because I think it was one of the most unusual and excellent questions I've had in my entire. I've been talking at thousands of places, but very, very critical question, first, and it was a novel question. And believe me, I have very often crossed this line. There is a very fine line between perfection and obsession. So when I started my first business, I was agitated, I was anxious, I had a foul temper, and I have lost many good people because of that. But where did this stem from? I always believed that there was no end to perfection. Okay, I believed that there was no end, and I thought everybody who worked with me has to be equally perfect with me. But it is not the case, but it took a very long time for me to learn this lesson. And I would chase people and I would say, how could you write a wrong email? And how could you have done this analysis wrong? And how could, when and you can't replicate your analysis. So I was very committed to my client, right? So if a client paid for something, I always believe that they should get their worth, because that money has value for them. They make decisions based on the reports you issue. So the commitment level was very high. So when your commitment is high, you chase perfection. When you chase perfection, people who work with you have to be equally perfect. So, the whole thought process in the first 10 years was that I could not take failure. If I made a mistake, if a person made a mistake and it was not looked at, if it was intentional, unintentional, whatever the reasons, there was. But what happens with time is I realize that everyone's levels of perfection vary, and I think accepting different levels when you want to run a business, for those of you who wish to run a business, learn from these mistakes. I made these mistakes. And I think over the period of time, it's not that I'm overcome them, because it's very difficult for me to take a job that was done loosely. Even today, I can't do any loose work in my life. I can't do a single loose day, a single loose thought, or a single loose outcome. I can't. So if I say I've done it to 98%, it won't be 97.5. It will be 98.1, if at all. So if you understand, and that's how I have led it. But when you run a business and you're working with a whole team of people, everyone's levels of working are different. But who will explain to that one client who made a wrong decision because of a wrong report? He lost 10 lakhs based on your wrong result. And I don't think I want to take that debt for, on me. It's very difficult to see both sides of the situation. For that poor chemist who was working, maybe she had problems and fight with her husband, in-laws, whatever, XYZ, came to work, made a mistake, went home. But for that client who got that report, and I have made mistakes in my analysis as well. So these are all very sensitive situations. So you have to understand both sides of the story as you run in terms of a team. So the one mistake I made when I was growing my business is I had very few processes and systems, not many. When you start up as an entrepreneur, you try to save money because money is so tight in the first place. So you do not invest A, B, C, D, E. You invest only, not even personal growth. I took no money out of my company for 10 years. Okay. I took no salary for 10 years. I just kept plowing back and plowing back and plowing back. So I was very fortunate. My husband had a good job and he took care of the household expenses. So I plowed everything back and eventually it culminated into a fantastic joint venture. But the thing I'm trying to tell you here is that everybody, I mean, when you're working in all of this, you have to understand where you're, okay, it's 80-85% perfection level. It's all right. I mean, you can go, but the fundamental philosophy of the company sort of stayed the same till I became 250 people when we sold, and so many offices in India, maybe 18 locations we were operating out of, and ports and all of that. So I come back to this thing called, teamwork. It's a very, very crucial lesson I learned, and I just became better at it over time. Because, no one will understand your pressure when you have to pay those innumerable salaries, and there is no guarantee in business, right? So there's another statement I say: when God sent you down, He didn't chipka a certificate saying you'll be successful. He just sent you down with an opportunity list. Which one you picked up and which one you used and which one you chose at the end is really up to you. So it's all. So I come back to this, that the universe listens to you and the universe answers your yearnings, and so the doors are always open. And you have to listen to those signals that are coming along the way. And this is how I lead my life. I have signals coming every week, that whether this is right, whether this is wrong, which is the right path. You need to choose to follow them. So somebody asked me last week, I was speaking at another teacher seminar, as I told you, very, very clever question. So I'll tell you now, how do you listen to this? How do you hear these signals was the question. And I gave a very, very valid answer, and especially valid in today's scenario, that you filter the noise, filter the noise. We all listen to 100 things in the market. Filter the noise. So you'll find your signal, you'll hear what the universe is telling you and you'll find your goals. So when you look at entrepreneurial traits, okay, when you listen to the universe, have positive thoughts. So kick negativity. So that's another lesson I give every person. You meet dime a dozen complainers. You'll meet so many people who have negative thought processes. You stop them there only. What do you want to do with those stories? You can't do dime a dozen with them, right? You stop here, you halt here, you kick those negativities. So learn how to do it. So the other traits that you will need to sort of identify, one is, as I said, excellence, perfection. The other one is clarity of thought, problem solving skills, analytical skills. So why problem solving skills? Because, there are more problems in business than there are highs. So do you have that ability to last through problems and have the analytical mindset to say, hey, this didn't work. What next? What next? So this problem solving ability, I think, is one of the key characteristics all entrepreneurs need to have. And in any business that you do, any job that you do, I think it's part of the game, right? The other thing is, positive attitude I covered. And I think we are at 5 minutes to 1. Nilesh, I have time till 1, right?
No, we can go over also, but probably let us give others some chance to ask questions also.
So last
I'm sure-
question is
yeah.
that recognize your ambition. Because I think it's very, very critical to know how ambitious you are and where you intend to be, so that when you sort of look back over the years, you'll say, hey, I gave it my best shot and I did exactly what I wanted to. So I think there's, as you can see, I'm extempore and I can go on for the entire day. So I'll pause here and I'll be very happy that if there's any area or aspect that you need to understand for identifying, I'll be happy to chat.
Thank you, ma'am. So we'll do a Q&A session now. You can go further and
Yeah,
answer.
Sure.
I'll only take the chance to ask. I think I have heard you many times and you always talk from your heart. Maybe two aspects or two questions I had was, one is work-life balance, and especially being a woman entrepreneur, I think it's even harder because no matter how much time you spend at work, you are expected to do the household chores. So that is one, and the other is you sold your company. I think 15 or 17 years is what you had, and then but selling company is not easy. It's like your baby or your child. So how, I'm sure emotionally or like how you did that.
So very valid questions both. My first question, your first question was handling business as a woman. So I learned very early in my business that, there are two shifts a woman has to run if you want to run a business or any job. Shift one is in your work and shift two is at home. So I'll tell you the process I followed and maybe you can learn from it. Whenever I reached my house outside my door, before I rang the bell, I would say, Deepa, the day is over. The day begins now. So the first day is over, switch off. Forget what went wrong in office, forget what went well, come down straight to ground state. Next shift begins. So from the time you enter the bell, you have a little child who's telling you, Mama, माझं sharpener मिळत नाहीये, माझं pencil नाहीये, माझं notebook सापडत नाहीये, उद्या मला project submission. I have a project submission tomorrow. And my teacher said A, B, C, D, I didn't get those 2 marks and see my question. It's never going to end. They need great food on the table. You need a colorful food. You need tasty food. You need to organize clean. You need a hygienic home. You need a fantastic house. So if you really want to be that, I think women are very skilled at multitasking. But one thing you have to do is, learn that you're never going to be a man, right? So you're not going to put those feet up and read that paper in the morning. And this is a reality, okay? This is really hardcore reality for you. It's going to be always that you have to manage 1 and 2. So if you start complaining and shouting and yelling and saying, I have to do everything in the morning, there's nobody there to listen to you. So you either accept it and start your life and go on. So, and I've set systems now, and that was the thing, I made mistakes in my business. I didn't put processes in place. So there was so much pressure on me to run. So now I've set systems everywhere. Everything runs without Deepa. The house runs without me. The office runs without me. And of course, my son is working with me now. So that's a huge difference. But I'm saying that systems and processes are big. Even at home, I have everything coordinated. Nothing goes off, something like that. And your answer to your second question. So to answer your first question, is never easy. You just can put systems to it. You cannot become the man of the house. Okay. And it's everywhere in the world. I've met women all over the world. It's the same everywhere. So don't think that a woman in Germany has it any easier than you. It's the same. Your second question is selling a business. You're right. So Nilesh should be very surprised to know, and I don't think many people in the industry, because nobody's really asked me to talk about my journey in that sense. And I'm also now old enough to recollect moments because I've been talking about it everywhere. The day I set up my company, on day one, it was 16th of January in 2000. And the day I set my company up, I said that I will work for 15 years and I will make my monies and I wanted to pursue science. So my goal was never to run a food testing lab and it was never to do a service business. That was only the plinth to pursue science as a goal. My goal was science. So I set up my business on 16th of Jan 2000. I sold my company on 16th of Jan 2015 and then worked those 15 years. So I was very clear in my mind. And you will think I'm really nuts to do this, but this is exactly the real story. And on that morning of 10 a.m., I sold my company on 16 Jan 2015. Afternoon 2 p.m., I opened D Technology. So I was very clear I wanted to do science. So my goal in life was not to run a food testing lab. My goal in science was to run science. So, I was a young scientist. I was happy. So that's the real answer for you. And you'll start laughing and you'll say that Deepa is telling a lie, but this is really, and the guy who designed my card and on day one, I told you he entered my office. He's an artist in Thane. And he said, you really did, because he knew my goal on day one. He was the only one who knew it. So when I sold it, he still designs my cards and he still does all my, brochure work and all. So that's really the story for you. So it wasn't difficult because it was made up. Mine was made up a long time ago. But having said that, emotionally, even after so many years, it's been 6 years now, somebody quickly in the middle of my work asked me for my email ID. I still say deepa@microchem.co.in because it's so embedded. For me, it was a way of life, you know. It was a child I sort of grew up. But it's like your daughter you give away in marriage, you have to disconnect. But it took 2 years for me to overcome emotionally. All right. I hope that answers your question.
Thank
Anything? Yes, there's some chat I see. I don't know who it. If there's anything there. Very passionate and straight. Oh yeah, that's Deepa for you. Every entrepreneur is, you know, you can't really prepare for a talk like this, isn't it? It's either there or it's just a journey. So
Very interesting and very nicely spoken, Deepa. Really enjoyed. This is Manjari.
yes, of course, nice. You are one of the my inspiration people I met before I set up. Also, remember I had come to see you, no? Women.
Yes, we had. I remember we meeting before that. I don't think I discouraged you from getting into
Not at all.
business.
But you were so attractive and dynamic. So I was like, my gosh, I hope I'm like her someday. And I hope I've reached there a little bit.
That's very humble of you, but you really achieved great strides, and I'm very proud to know you.
Thank you so much, Manjari. Really a pleasure to know you too. And really, when I walked into your office and the whole flair and the dynamism, see, all of us are looking for motivation, right? As you grow in life. And I always believe when you look back, it's all destiny. Now, we think we are doing all of this. This is the role I was supposed to do, your role you were supposed to do. So there's no grief in what we did. You know, you can only do your best. That's all. And then leave it to him for the rest. That's all.
Very right. Whatever
Yeah.
you've said.
Yes. Anyone else? I'll be more than happy.
Deepa, I have one question for you. Like,
Yes,
and I heard it last time also. Like, I'm like, I always like, I always inspire to like learn from you because I'm an entrepreneur and like a new entrepreneur, and I've been to corporate and then I started my own journey. So it's always like difficult. Like, mind says something, and you do something, deliver something different. So, like you mentioned one thing like about the perfection and obsession. I just want to understand how is a fine tune between them and how that really impact um, the finance part of it and the delivery part of it, like how they really like come to you. Right?
See, I'll tell you something now, Ritesh. Perfection is in my own mind. I have to deliver what Deepa thinks is best. You know, you will see me from an outsider like a businesswoman. Oh, she's so clever, she's so bright. But actually, it's only an image that I'm portraying to you. You're, responding to that image, right? But what is actually perfection and success? It's in your own head. Did I deliver to my caliber? Am I proud of what I did? That for Deepa is success, and that's very high, Ritesh. I'm annoyingly perfect. You will hate when you work with me sometimes because I'm annoyingly perfect. I can be lethal if the work is not up to the mark. And believe me, I've been like this all my life, but I don't know any other way to be, I will not be able to deliver mediocre work because I will not feel it is worth. It's not worth that man's thing, whoever's paying for it, you know what I mean? And if I'm unable to deliver, I will just return the money. At least there is some weight off my head. I'm that bad in terms of deliveries. Honestly, I'm telling you, I don't know if it's right or wrong. And maybe there's some error also in this because many times I've been told, that I'm brutally honest and I'm lethal when it comes, but I don't know any other way to be. And not all of it is perfect. My son and I are working together. He's really bright. And so many times we face challenges and he says, Mom, if you have to be so perfect, your grandchildren will deliver technologies. If you understand what I'm saying, we go. So we have now, he operates at 85 and I operate at 110. And so we've now come to this magical figure of 98 to deliver. So we are good. So I hope that answers your question.
Madam, very inspiring talk. One thing I would like to ask you is being a technocrat, how you went about managing other aspects of the business like accounting, finance, HR, sales and marketing, and all that stuff.
Very interesting question because I failed very badly at it. Okay. And why I tell you this is I knew no F of finance. I just knew passion and I only knew hard work. There are only two ingredients that set up. And so many accounts mistakes I have made in the first 10 years, you have no clue. I made a mistake on my collections. I had so many outstandings. I lost so much money. So I was very bad at finance really. And all the people, even the accountants I didn't realize the importance of how critical it is to get that accounting in place, to be very honest. And I had no sales guy for 10 years. I was the only one. And actually, all my customers were my salespeople. And this is really true. One customer brought the second brought the third brought the fourth, and they all stayed. And they picked up the phone and fired the hell out of me. And and Seema Atre, I see her on the line. Is that Seema? I saw her, I think somewhere, I'm not sure. But many of my clients themselves have been so fantastic. They've just called me up and fired me when I haven't delivered. And that's, I think, where, reality. I'll give you an example of somebody from General Mills, Ritesh. His name was Nagesh, and I think he's with Britannia now, or he must have retired. So he was one of the first guys who called me up and fired me for a wrong ash content I delivered. And I'll give you this story because all of you should know it. So to answer your question, whoever asked me, I was very bad in finance and I was extremely poor in my collections and I had no sales team for 10 years until I did the joint venture. And then I will come to that story in like 2 minutes if you have that time, that how I finally graduated to being a managing director. Give me a minute. But I'll tell you an example of I had two people in my first 3 years of business. Okay, one chemist who was a 9-year FDA approved chemist, and I had one microbiologist. So we were a team of three, and I was the peon, and I was the head, and I was the cleaner. I mean, we had a cleaner, I think, in the beginning, but opening shutters and closing was my job. Okay, this first 2 years, 2001, 2000, and 2001. And the first day we had a sample from General Mills in 2000, and the girl reported an ash content, and I will never forget it because, as I said, I'm crazy committed about my work. She reported an ash content of 0.51. And after 3 days after issuing the report, this Nagesh came back from General Mills and he told me, Deepa, it's impossible. I got 0.78 in my lab. That's why I sent it to yours. How could you get 0.51? And I was taken aback. So what I did is I took the sample and gave it back to the chemist again under another name and got her to analyze it again. And she gave it at 0.71. So, and I was like, oh, 0.78, whatever it was that he had got. So when I called the chemist to my door and I said, how come you delivered 0.51 day before yesterday? She said, I had spilled the ash after weighing it. So I opened the book and I saw that the passing ash for Maida was 0.51. So I wrote this and I gave that report to you. You won't believe what I did that day. I sacked the girl on the spot. And I must know, I had no chemist from the next day morning. I sacked that girl on the spot in 10 seconds. And do you know why? Because I cannot inculcate honesty in people. For that girl, that man would have made a drastic mistake on his thing. And there are, I can tell you 100 experiences like this where I've taken really tough calls. So that first day, and I was so upset because I had no chemist next day to handle any work that came in, which wasn't a lot, but whatever it was. But I took that call and sacked her because the message that the philosophy was always perfect. So why I say this example is all of you will need to take tough calls in your life at some point. You need to take that when you need to take it. Because that philosophy, I cannot inculcate honesty. That has to come with you. I can only teach you and groom you for the analysis. I cannot put this in. So these are examples. And coming back to when I switched the joint venture, I'll give you a very funny example. In October of 2009, I had week one company from abroad called me that we are interested in entering India. We'd like to partner with you. We've done our due diligence. I wrote back to them saying that, hey, I'm not interested in growing. I'm very happy with what I'm doing. And this is a real story, black and white, uncensored. I wrote back to them saying, I'm not really interested in doing anything. So thank you very much. Week two, I got another call which said another lab, two of the largest in the world actually, got another call. And I wrote the same mail saying that, hey, I'm happy. I don't want to really grow and do this big business. Week four of the same year, same month, week four, third week went by, week four. I got a fourth call when I was praying that morning, and I pray every day. I've never not prayed. So I also say my Shubham Karoti in the evening at 7. I'm still very old school. Okay. So I light the lamp at 6:30 and I say it every day, every single day. And I pray every morning. So I asked, when I was praying that morning, I said, what is all this happening? These 3 calls in 1 month. I mean, what is the signal you're trying to give me? Am I supposed to grow? Am I supposed to do this? So I said no to all of them. And eventually I met a gentleman after 6 months who said, why did you say no? I really never questioned myself, why did I not want to grow? And for all these people who never left me for 10 years, how will they grow? So I wrote back to all 3 of them and said, hey, I'm interested now. And it was surprising. All of 3 of them came back. So sometimes I believe, that destiny has a way of asking you. I've never chased anything in my life. It's always come to my door. What was right came to my door. What I learned from it was which door I opened, I got. Which door I didn't. So for everybody, I think these are, this is how I think, and this is how my mindset is. So that's how the joint venture happened. And to answer your question, when the joint venture happened, the whole systems came in, your HR, your sales team, your, people. But I'm very, very happy to tell you this, that when I sold my company in 2015, in the last month, my entire sales team was in my office, all 8 of them. They stood in my room and they told me that, can you please return their monies? We don't need them, we need you. And I think it is, of my 15 years, that was the most precious moment for me, when your team comes and tells you, don't go, we need you. And I will never forget that moment. It was very, very emotional, and I will remember it till the day I die, that your team came and told you they didn't need the foreign name, they needed Microchem and they needed Deepa. So that's the story for you. So eventually I learned all the systems and processes. So I tell you, no, keep your heart and mind open. Sometimes in that noise of fear, no, we forget to see these signals. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But in the light of that experience, what is your advice to the startups? Should they carry just like that, or they should do it in a different way than what you did?
Not for the first few years. For the first few years, you can't have these organized systems and all that. Yes, I mean, if you have funding from an investor, then sure, why not? But I think somewhere, not the goal, you can't miss your goal, your objective of why you started that business, whatever startup it is, why you started it, and what is the philosophy with which you want to pursue it. I don't think you can stray away from this. Whether you put in systems, at what stage you put in systems, what level of systems you put in, it's just a matter of time and money is available to you. Of course, a well-run business with systems is always a better choice, but I'm not very convinced that you need those in place from day one. I think they come in at some stage where by the time your team is in place, by the time your goals are set, by the time you find your way, because even if there's an idea in your mind, to concretize that idea and to find your path, it takes a little bit of time. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Varsha here. Congratulations, Deepa, for your success. You're always inspiring me and whole team, all the juniors from ICT. And I always take inspiration from you. You give me a strength a lot. And your all first day of Microcap Silicon and the last day you called me. It was great that you're connected with me and you always be there.
my pleasure.
Thank you very much, Dr. Deepa. I think it was very nice listening to us, listening to you. And I think we have a second speaker who also has, I think, because of Women's Day, successful
Fantastic.
women entrepreneurs are in big demand today.
So I think I'll leave you with one question, Nilesh. I want you to play this to as many students as you can reach,
Yes, we'll
because,
do that.
and why is it that I spend this 1 hour? And my son is always asking me, Mom, there's so much work in the office. Why do you commit these timings? I don't know. I had a fantastic, upbringing. So I had a lot of encouragement. So people who haven't had that, please reach out to them so that they find this.
Yes.
So thank you very, very much, all of you, for your time spent with me this morning.
Yes. And I'll also like to put it on record that every time I've invited you, you have said yes.
But I'll always do it for you, Nilesh, because your
Yes.
goals are very clear and
Thank you very much.
you always reach out to these people. So,
yes.
Okay.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much, Dr.
Bye.
Bye. Diksha, over to you.
Yes. I would like to call upon Ritesh Mathur, sir, to enlighten about AFST Mumbai. Sir, over to you.
Oh yeah, thank you. Well, I must, when I think Deepa ma'am has log off, but it's so inspiring to hear her. And I always admire to hear her. The way she speak on the strength and weakness. I'm just more for more general audience, more for a student. When I also learned sometime whenever she spoke on this. So, but anyway, I won't take much time. I think we are short of time for doing this. Can ID can make me admin? Can I present something?
Yeah. Anupji, can you make him Ritesh Mathur as the co-host?
To that happen, I really want to thank you Deepa ma'am about this. And one thing I really understand, we all have a different setup. Everything is good and bad. There's nothing not good or not bad, and everything is there. It's only way where you best fit in always. Always feel okay. I mean, I can do a best batting, I can do a bowling, I can play football. Where I best fit am. There's understanding that your strength and weakness is really the whole key, which I really admire most thing. And of course, getting a fine balance.
Yeah, if you want to share screen.
Oh yeah, I can now. Oh, thank you so much, Nilesh. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Great. So very quickly, I know we have short of time and second speaker is already there. I just want to very quickly talk about the FSTI and what we do. So FSTI basically a stand for Association of Food Scientists and Technologists, and this was established way back in 1957 at the CFTRI, and there are different chapters in FSTI, and So like that very fundamentally, like it's an association of food scientists and technologists. So anyone who is like has done a basic degree in food science or technology or allied subjects can be part of that. Right? So they can become a member, and it's a non-profit body, and it's mainly for everybody who's in food, right? As simple as that. So the first president for the FST headquarters was Dr. Subramaniam, and Mr. Jain was secretary. I'm just sharing the basic history about this. These are basically different chapters of FSTI. This is like the headquarters for FSTI, which is at CFTRI. Right? Among the most, let me go back, coming to the Mumbai chapter. So the most one of the largest and most active chapters I would say is the Mumbai chapter, and it is plus 400 plus the food scientists are the member of these things, and it was started way back in 1970, and under Professor Ganguly head leadership, and Professor Rege was the like the first the AGM had under him in 1971. There's some history about the things. This is the mission of the FST. Like we always say, we want to voice of the academia, the student, the research students, research institutes, the industry, and we always want to be a bridge between the government and all the stakeholders who are in the food fraternity. So everyone in the food domain, be a regulatory, be a student, be academic, and be a industry or corporates, they all can be together in a part of the FST. This is what we're looking at. So you want to bridge between all of them, right? And how we align, like, so we work on all the initiatives which are from FSSAI or FDA of the respective states. So like we focus on say FOSTAC or Eat Right or the Project Bhog, the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, the street food, or the NetProfan, the MSME, which Nilesh has mentioned about it. So you always be part of that, and we do things. Now, very quickly, like just like there's a various things which FST as such is doing it. So I mean, I can honestly I can talk on every point maybe for like another half an hour, but a couple of things which I want to share is which we do also is like a mentorship. So we mentor to the students or the startups or the mid-sized companies. We mentor them from the FST. We choose the students. They can approach us, and then we can mentor the students or the startups. We do that. We do a lot of conferences. All the students who want to attend the conferences or seminars or webinars, whatever they want to, they can get the information. They can register at better rate. They got all the updates in the regulations. Whatever thing they do, we can help them. We also have a quarterly newsletter coming in, which is talk about the technical things in the newsletter. One of the very important, like a Project Bhog, which is the blissful and hygienic offering to the god. So the Project Bhog is very critical, where we was initiated by the FSSAI, where all the food served at the religious body, maybe like a temple or a mosque or a gurdwara or churches, like everywhere, all the food served there are standardized, and we did a project at Siddhivinayak Temple for that. We are also doing currently a project, Swaminarayan Temple, and then we ensure the food safety at the temple or the prasad given to them. Right? These are some of the pictures of the Swaminarayan Khichdi, which with all my colleagues, and we worked on this project where we ensured the same khichdi, which is a like shelf life of 2 hours, 3 hours. We made it to a 6-month shelf life without any preservative, without any additives, and keeping the same recipe, which is like 300 years old recipe. So ensuring all those same, but putting all science and technology behind it, and we are getting to the same product. Right? And under this available at the temple and many other places available. Right? So this one more thing I want to share about FST. Like so when there was a discussion at the Rajya Sabha, and we mentioned about the food safety and the jobs, and we're talking about. So we immediately, the body from FST mentioned that for every food industry or the food thing, we need to have a food technologist or a food scientist person need to be there, and this need to be budgeted there. So like we estimated so many jobs will be created by doing this, and most of this job will go to the food science students. Right? So we do a lot of such things. Very shortly, I just want to quickly sum up. So so whosoever comes in a startup, who want to come in MSME, who want to be a student, they all can be a part of FSTI, and we as a team come from different background, and we can always nurture them, mentor them, work together, take a part in that, right? Learn about the recruitment, maybe in industry. You want to join some company, we can be there to help you out. There could be some discount at some conferences. right? We also do like initial, we also do like an IPL, Innovation Premium League, where you can put your ideas and your idea can be scanned and this can go to the industry on the top 10 problem solving things. So a lot of things really happens at the FST. Is always at the realm, and we always do something which is basically fundamentally on the field of the food science and technologist. So my appeal to all the students, if you are a food scientist graduate, are you doing your BTech, your BSc, MSc, BVoc, diploma, whatever thing you are doing in food, or have done, or currently you're in corporates, or you are in a startup, or you're from the food background, any periphery of the food is okay. So become a member and join us, and we do a lot of other things. And the headquarter for the Mumbai chapter is at ICT Matunga, and I'm a current secretary for the things. Nilesh was ex-president. We all are here. Shubha is the president for the current calendar year. You can approach any one of us if you want to become a member, you want to be part of it. We always look for more fresh mind and things to do it. And then let's do a big on FST. So again, a sincere request for everyone to become a member who are not the member. And yeah, that's it from my side very quickly, Nilesh. Let's go to the next speaker.
Thanks,
What do you?
thanks, Ritesh. I take this opportunity to introduce our second speaker today on the occasion of International Women's Day. Dr. Pragati Gokhale. She is a gold medalist in statistics. She is a retired principal scientist under Ministry of MSME, Government of India. She is presently working as advisor to the Rajiv Gandhi Science and Technology Commission and is a national resource person for Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India. She is also the founder of marketmirchi.com and chief mentor for Mission Mera Mobile, Mera Marketing. So I invite Dr. Pragati Gokhale to please enlighten our delegates here. Hello, Pragati ma'am.
She has to unmute herself.
Hello, ma'am, we cannot hear you nor see you.
Ma'am, you're on mute. We can't
Yeah.
hear you, ma'am. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah.
Hello.
Yes. Yes.
Good, ma'am. We can hear you as well as see you.
So I have to start, or are you going to introduce me?
I introduced you, ma'am.
So I was not there. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. I understand. You can start, ma'am.
It was going on, and since it is a Women's Day, I have to continue one by one. There are webinars going on.
Yes, yes. And thank you for accepting our invite. Please go ahead.
No, but just I want to confess few things here. I accepted your invitation, and that you gave some references of your mother also and everything. And then I went to that flyer and all. And I joined at the end of the first speaker's session. She is an entrepreneur. And I am somewhat confused about my role here and what I have to say. Because I am not an entrepreneur. I am not even a social entrepreneur. I do not run any NGO. And I am just a founder of marketmirchi.com and chief mentor for Mission Mera Mobile Mera Marketing. It is only my giving back to society, and but it is a success story. That part in your flyer, I agree that it is a success story. So what I will speak here is something different, but it will definitely help audience, because all of you are are planning or some startup in food business or something related to rural India or agriculture products or food products. And our marketmirchi.com will help you to market your products in rural marketing as well as in urban marketing, in making all market linkages and without spending any money. So now I will start with my story. I said that I am not an entrepreneur, but I have an experience of entrepreneurship. Throughout my life, I worked as a government officer. And my basic degree is that I am MSc in statistics. And that time when I learned statistics, I have done my MSc in statistics. Computer science thoda shuru ho gaya tha. So I learned Fortran programming in one reputed institute, VNIT in our Nagpur, in 1981, and I learned it without computers. So wo jamana tha. So I had something, some passion about programming and coding and all that. So along with my government job, I in a Forest Development Corporation, I was working that time as a statistical officer. I started learning all these software technologies. फिर मैंने उसके बाद फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट के पूरे सॉफ्टवेयर्स बना डाली in that time available technologies, Power Builder and Fox Pro. But I was so greedy about learning new technologies and developing something, some softwares and all that, that I started my own business. तो गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट के तो कंस्ट्रेंट्स आप सबको पता है. So I started it with my son on his name. He was learning that time on 12th or something. So मेरा एक impact बोल सकते हो. He started programming and coding from 10th. And because of my circle and all that, we get many live projects. So he had a good hands-on, and both of us, what should I say, had a company named Megamind Infotech for around 10 years. 10 साल हमने बहुत से products बनाए. Means the inquiries were coming from Elance or from some local markets. That time that MLM, network marketing, was in boom. So network marketing के लिए तो मैंने इतने softwares बनाए, and then it was something under scanner. Then I thought that I should not be considered as a woman of underworld. So for 10 years continuously, me and my son, along with his education was going on, we developed a lot of softwares. And every time a new technology came, I jumped to it. I developed many products as per clients' requirements. So in that journey, I made one gentleman. He was a businessman, proper businessman. And since I am not from a business family, वो मेरा perspective शुरू से ही नहीं था. और अच्छा खासा government job भी चल रहा था. That I should mention. That मेरा livelihood वो software company पे नहीं था. Then he said, that gentleman said, इतने सारे software products बनाना बेवकूफी है. एक ही product बनाना चाहिए और throughout the life उसका marketing करना चाहिए. तो his words कहीं तो भी मेरे दिमाग में बैठ गए कि that I should develop a product, right? ऐसे होते होते 10 साल बीत गए हमारे सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट के. थोड़ा मेरा भी enthusiasm according to age कम हो गया. And my son completed his education and left for a nice job in multinational. तो और थोड़ा इंटरेस्ट कम हो गया. So at the age of 50, I came across a advertisement for Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Rural Industrialization. It was very much near to, means it was in Wardha, and it was of something of interest. They wanted at high positions all scientists who will give contribution to rural development. So I just applied for it. And since it was a high level post, the age limit for that post was also 50. तो generally government job में ये age limit नहीं रहता. ये destiny जो पहले speaker बोले ना, that also plays a role in your life. So I gave that interview on my 50th birthday exactly. तो वो दूसरे दिन रहता तो I was not eligible. And I was selected because of my software knowledge and website knowledge. IIT Delhi में interview हुआ. They asked me to develop certain thing, and I was कीड़ा ही थी. मैं तो उसमें कीड़ा थी. So I was selected. I was selected along with me 35 other scientists from various streams like chemical technology, biotechnology, and khadi and textile were selected. So join तो हो गई, post अच्छी थी, central government की नौकरी थी. So I left my previous job, which was also state government job, and joined here. I was not clear what will be my role here, that how I can contribute for the rural economy or for the upliftment of rural industries. Our mandate was to give science and technology input to rural industries. And of course, from IT background of point, my mandate, my mission and vision, I had to frame. The credit goes to my that time director of the institute. It was the month of May in our Vidarbha, 45 degree plus. He gave us a circular that all of us have to go for a orientation program. अब सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की अच्छी नौकरी इंस्टीट्यूट थी, पोस्ट भी हाई थी. वी थॉट दैट कई अच्छे इंस्टीट्यूट्स पे वो हमें विजिट के लिए ले जाएंगे. बट he took us to the suicide prone areas of Wardha and Yavatmal, and then to the self-help groups working there, to the NGOs working in the Naxalite areas of Gadchiroli and Chandrapur. And he took a caution that we will have a lot of ground interaction. बहुत सारे उन्होंने हमारे ग्राउंड इंटरेक्शन करवाए. एंड ड्यूरिंग दैट मीटिंग्स जो हमने किए तिल मिलाती धूप में, उसमें my role was clear to me. So how I can contribute for the upliftment of rural industries. It happened like this, that we were standing in Selu in some group of farmers and self-help groups. They asked me, Madam, you give from government side every support to us. You give us trainings, then you give us some funding when we start producing something. But how we can market our products? Because why not you do one thing, madam? Why not you give us shops in every city? He or she was very right. And then I studied what exactly government is doing for giving market linkages to these rural and agro products. Then I came to know कि गवर्नमेंट के तरफ से अलग अलग जगह पे मेजर सिटीज में एग्जीबिशंस आर कंडक्टेड. धान्य बाजार रहता है, महालक्ष्मी सरस मेला इज देयर, हैंडलूम एंड हैंडीक्राफ्ट एग्जीबिशंस आर देयर, where all these rural entrepreneurs, farmers came, sell their products and go back. So there is a good sellability for these products, but it is not possible from government side also to conduct exhibitions throughout the years for these rural stakeholders. And also it is not possible for them to come every now and then. So leveraging my IT knowledge, I developed a product. जो product बनाना मेरे दिमाग में था ना, वो finally came out. I developed marketmirchi.com. अब marketmirchi.com बनाते वक्त, now I will confess here, I will not means क्या बोलते हैं, सच बताऊंगी आपको. I will not hide anything. Marketmirchi.com जब बनाई, then I was at the age of 53-54. It was well appreciated by ministry and every government stakeholder क्योंकि एक नए तरह का initiative था. And then thought came to me, because I was working in the under Ministry of MSME. MGIRI is under Ministry of MSME. So ये सारा venture funding, impact funding I was knowing. But since I was in the government job, I thought that I will develop this, I will nurture it, and then I will start by some venture on it, like some even social entrepreneurship venture, you may say. So and it was going on. So the Market Mirchi नाम रखने के पीछे भी यही उद्देश्य था कि it should be not forgotten by the rural people. But now they are also making mistakes. मिरचीचंच marketing होतं का विचारतात. But that is another part of the story. So marketmirchi.com was developed, and how mission मेरा mobile मेरा marketing came. That is another story. Small story. We started disseminating marketmirchi.com क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट के तरफ से हमें dissemination funds भी रहते थे. तो along with that, means along with other MGIRI programs, I was also disseminating marketmirchi.com as a venture for free marketing. Since it was for free, there was no objection from government side also. And also I went to Bhuj. But there was a something gap type thing I was noticing. It was around 2014 or something, and computers and internet has not reached to the bottom of pyramid. और ये जो अपना स्मार्टफोन है जिसके साथ आज मैं आपसे बात करती हूँ, वो भी बंदा तब तक आया नहीं था. So what we used to do, we used to visit various exhibitions for all rural stakeholders, and I used to announce there that this is a platform. You please fill up your forms, and back home, our data entry operators were used to upload their products on the marketmirchi.com. So गैप ऐसी रहती थी कि एक हर्बल प्रोड्यूस की कंपनी है, मारुति हर्बल्स इन होसूर. I think they have a very good product क्योंकि बहुत बार उनके लिए marketmirchi.com पे इंक्वायरी आ गई है. So that time that inquiry, because they have filled up the form in some exhibition and they have forgotten. Then the inquiry came from Germany on marketmirchi.com for this Maruti Herbals product. वो baldness के लिए है, टकले पे बाल आने के लिए. So it was like a people live in that small village. But since luckily my number was also mentioned, so I intervened and the deal went on. So this was the gap which I was witnessing. और होते होते 2016 आ गया. अब 2016 में एक मेजर जो इनिशिएटिव शुरू हुआ, that you must be remembering or I will tell you, that was a Digital India mission by our honorable Prime Minister. जैसे डिजिटल इंडिया शुरू हो गया, गांव गांव तक इंटरनेट पहुंचना शुरू हो गया, और उसी के साथ आया सबके हाथ में ये स्मार्टफोन. And it happened like this. I went to Bhuj for addressing a big exhibition of MSME for agro sector. And suddenly my laptop, I was going to tell about Market Mirchi also, and suddenly my laptop stopped working. But the guy who was assisting me was smart. He said, "Madam, laptop की क्या जरूरत है? अपन अपने मोबाइल पे दिखाएंगे." Yeah, it can be done. So it was also a new thing for me that time, though I am a IT professional. तो फिर and जो गर्ल वहां बैठी थी रिसेप्शन काउंटर ऑफ द एग्जीबिशन, she was a super smart. She started announcing, "म्हारो मोबाइल से म्हारो मार्केटिंग, म्हारो मोबाइल से म्हारो मार्केटिंग, आओ आओ." So that day there was a big queue of farmers in front of me, everybody saying कि मैडम हमें बताओ how we can market with our mobiles. And to tell you, they were having so good smartphones, good quality smartphones, that I was ashamed of my phone that day. So that day we named our mission as Mission Mera Mobile Mera Marketing. So this is the story, this book. Then at present what Mission Mera Mobile Mera Marketing is, I will cover. But एक छोटा सा जो मैं बोली कि I want to confess is comes here. ऐसे होते होते I retired in 2018, right? So जनरली हम लोग जो मिडिल क्लास फैमिली है, वी ऑल मस्ट बी, तो हम लोग एक स्टेक लेते हैं कि हाउ मच आई हैव बैलेंस, बिकॉज दो आई हैव वर्क इन द गवर्नमेंट फॉर अराउंड 40 years, अनलकीली आई एम नॉट हैविंग अ पेंशन. वो कुछ जो मैं पहले ऑर्गेनाइजेशन थी वहां पे पेंशन नहीं थी, सीपीएफ था, एंड इन एमगिरी आई ज्वाइंड जब पेंशन बंद ही कर दी है अभी गवर्नमेंट ने, सो आई एम नॉट हैविंग पेंशन. सो एज ए यूजुअल, एज अ कॉमन क्या बोलते हैं, जो जैसे कॉमन मैन का थिंकिंग है, वैसा मेरा भी था कि मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है तो अभी मैं ये कर सकती हूँ. बट व्हेन आई रिटायर्ड एंड आई टुक मीन्स एक व्यू ऑफ माय अकाउंट्स, आई केम टू नो दैट नाउ आई हैव सफिशिएंट मनी, और मेरे अभी जरूरतें बहुत कम हो गई है. सबसे बड़ा ये चीज है कि एट द एज ऑफ 60 आपके सारे इन जनरल एक जनरल जो पैसे के लिए क्रेज रहता है वो कम हो जाता है, और होना भी चाहिए. That is what I want to give a sandesh also. So, and all my both children are very nicely settled, so that part responsibility over, and now I can do something for the society. So why should I go for a social entrepreneurship or some entrepreneurship like model? Why cannot I run marketmirchi.com as a free venture? I can give back to society by that way, and it has really started showing impact by that time. So I said, no, it is fine that I will not take any money from this marketmirchi.com. And to tell you the truth, how I can do this is because it is an extremely lean model. आज गवर्नमेंट के तरफ से, I know because I am in the government sector, बहुत सारा पैसा ये मार्केट लिंकेजेस या कुछ वेबसाइट बनाना या वेब प्लेटफॉर्म बनाना, बड़ी बड़ी एवरी मिनिस्ट्री अनाउंसेस इट्स वेबसाइट और समथिंग कि हम लोग ग्रामीण लोगों को फायदा दे रहे. But the difference here is, it is an extremely lean model. Lean model means I have developed website myself, so development cost nil. Some sort of hosting charges I am paying for it. Initially it was on GoDaddy, so it was very less, and now we have shifted it to Amazon Cloud. So we 60,000, 70,000 per year. And this year even IIT has come forward and they said that they will spend hosting money for this year. So even if nobody will help me, I can run it on my own from my own savings. So that was my thinking. And so after my retirement, I fully focused on Mission Mera Mobile Mera Marketing with marketmirchi.com. Now I am working as an advisor for Rajiv Gandhi Science and Technology Commission. And here our target, our goal is to give funding to science and technology projects to educational institutes for societal development. But to tell you, Rajiv Gandhi Science and Technology Commission has not given any funding to Market Mirchi or Mission Mera Mobile Mera Marketing. And by that matter, nobody has given, but we take activity-based support. So that I will now, what should I say? I will now say what is the exact status of marketmirchi.com or Mission Mera Mobile Mera Marketing right. At present, at today, as on today, marketmirchi.com has three major, Mission Mera Mobile Mera Marketing has three major components. One is, of course, marketmirchi.com. Based on our experience at Bhuj, I made it more and more mobile friendly. And then I came out with a final version, which is in the progressive web app technology. Why not app? That will I also tell you, because I have done a pan-India dissemination. I have understood the problems at the bottom of pyramid. उनको वो app store पे जाओ और app download करो. That is also a learning curve for them. So it is a very, very mobile friendly platform, marketmirchi.com, and you can make its icon on your home screen like app. Secondly, we have kept its user interface as simple as possible. We don't ask anybody to register first or register करते वक्त वो email दो, captcha and password के सारे restriction. Password है, लेकिन उसमें फिर ये numeric चाहिए, ये capital चाहिए, ये सारी झंझटें हमने निकाल दी है, keeping in view rural India को मद्देनजर रखते हुए, ठीक है? So we directly take them action. We have three main sections: sale, buy, and jobs. Where under sale, they can directly post their sales ads. We have 26 major categories containing all rural and agro products. Vegetables है, foods है, flowers है, rural बचत गट महिलाओं के products है, even agri inputs है, everything is there. Rural services is there, seminars is there, everything. Everything under umbrella of Gramin India that we have included, right? It is of course multilingual, भारत की सभी भाषाओं में चलती है, and we have a very action-packed thing in it. Whenever a seller posts his ad, he gets in SMS a link of buyers, and also he is shown immediately link of buyers to contact. We have a number of buyers equal to number of sellers, or rather more than it, on marketmirchi.com. And number of buyers he contact, the active rank of his website of his ad increases. Similarly, for buyers, the number of sellers he contact, the active rank of his ad increases. Why we have kept this feature, that also I will tell you. Since ours is not a commercial model, we are not going to charge from anybody, not even from companies. Companies से भी हम charge नहीं करते जो pesticides की या fertilizers की ad देते हैं. So whoever comes last is shown first. तो प्रीमियम एड्स वगैरह वाला फंडा हमारे पास नहीं है. So the persons, the sellers and buyers who are active on the site will get the benefit, and that is why there is a separate indexing on search active sellers and search active buyers, and more than 200 active rank wala seller bhi hai aur buyer bhi hai. We have also included job section to attract rural youths, and mostly agriculture, veterinary, and all the jobs are there, right? So right now, this is how marketmirchi.com is. And second part, which is very important, second part is of Mission Mera Mobile Mera Marketing is connecting unconnected. जो ये marketmirchi.com की स्ट्रेंथ है वो उसका वीकनेस भी है. स्ट्रेंथ ये है कि एग्रो एंड रूरल सेक्टर में ये ट्रेड इंडिया जैसा काम करने वाली, वी कैन कॉल इट ट्रेड भारत, एक यूनिक वेंचर है और जिसमें कोई कमर्शियल एस्पेक्ट नहीं है. इट इज टोटली फ्री. वीकनेस ये है कि जो लोगों के एड्स हमें चाहिए, जो हमारे स्टेक होल्डर्स है, उनको ये सब हाथ में मोबाइल पकड़ के सिखाना पड़ता है. आवाज आ रही है ना मेरी?
हाँ, yes, yes.
Yes,
we can
ma'am.
hear.
हाँ, तो इसके लिए MKCL, Maharashtra Knowledge Corporation Limited, that is how the people are or the organizations are helping it. Activity based help, many people are giving, many organizations are giving, even individuals are giving. So MKCL has developed a very good e-learning course also on how to do free, how to do zero budget agro and rural marketing with marketmirchi.com, digital agro and rural marketing. And also they have developed very good videos in Hindi. These videos are disseminated through Krishi Vignan Kendras, through community radios, and through social media, and also through various NGOs working in the rural livelihood sector, and also government organizations. During Corona, we conducted almost every day. I conducted 2 webinars, at least 2 webinars for teaching these rural stakeholders. And we not only took webinars, we directly onboarded them on the marketmirchi.com with the help of various NGOs. To name few, BIOF, then Bajaj Foundation, then Indian Gramin Services, Tata Trust, Swades, many. I even don't. I have even forgotten the names, and sorry for that. But there are many. And after Corona, what we have started, that NABARD has written a letter to all its regional offices to take the help of services because they are working on the capacity building of this farmer producer organization, to take the help of my services on how to do free digital agro and rural marketing with marketmirchi.com. And after Corona, means just from last month or so, we have started giving hands-on training, and NGOs are organizing it. I am going there and teaching them with mask. The participants are also with mask. So how this is, we are reaching or we are connecting unconnected. So this is the second part of Mission Mera Mobile Mera Marketing. Third part is very, very important because jab many sellers, and that too from rural India, farmers, जब बड़ी यानी उनके लिए वो एक ad post करना भी एक बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि होती है. वो ad post करते हैं, then they expect buyers, and that is my responsibility, I think. और वो एक बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम था क्योंकि ये मुर्गी पहले के अंडा, चिकन एक प्रॉब्लम इट वाज. सो जब तक सेलर्स नहीं, बायर्स नहीं, और जब तक बायर्स नहीं, सेलर्स नहीं. बट with continuous efforts of 5 years, now it is almost, this is 6th year, we are now able to get buyers on the platform, and as the number of sellers increasing, the number of buyers are also increasing. Even Big Basket and Reliance Retail has posted their procurement ads. Of course, for them also it is free, procurement ads on marketmirchi.com, right? So and IIT Mumbai Sitara program, Center for Technology Alternatives for Rural Area, have partnered with us, has supported me for this initiative, and we are working on some artificial intelligence modules for scrapping the buyers, and that is also helping us to get more buyers. So this is the third part. First is marketmirchi.com, second is backend linkages, and third is front-end linkages, means finding buyers. So this is the status right now of our Mission Mera Mobile Mera Marketing. Happy to share with you that recently this World Women Leadership Congress awards 50 women who make impact throughout the globe every year. So this year they have awarded me with Global Woman of Worth Award for this initiative. I took this opportunity and on social media and publicized it as marketmirchi.com is now global. So this is the strength of media. क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ कितना भी हमने बोला लोकल ग्लोकल तो भी ग्लोबल का थोड़ा इम्पैक्ट रहता ही है. So this is the journey so far. Many organizations are supporting it. Like I have a call yesterday, I had a meeting with Vadvani Artificial Intelligence Foundation. They are also interested to give some artificial intelligence support. NASCOM Foundation is going ahead with dissemination from the next month for the rural stakeholders. So dissemination support is also from many NGOs and government schemes like NABARD and NRLM. Support means they are arranging the programs, and they are if I have to go physically, they give my to and fro travel expenses. That must support them. And sometimes they ask me, what is your resource person fee? Then I say, whatever is in your budget, you give me. Even if you don't give me, I am fine with it. So this is how the mission is going on. And to tell you the truth, to commit with you truth, it is giving me, not giving me money. Rather, I'm spending small amount, and also, of course, I'm spending my time with it and skills with it. But it is giving me immense satisfaction. Immense satisfaction. Means इतना satisfaction मुझे जिंदगी में आज तक नहीं मिला. When some farmer or some self-help group महिला मुझे फोन करके बोलती है कि ताई आपने ये बहुत ही अच्छा बनाया, आज मैं इससे कांटेक्ट कर गई, मेरे को ये फायदा हो गया. एंड सम ऑफ द सक्सेस स्टोरीज, जैसे ये लोग मेरे को कांटेक्ट करते हैं तो उनके नंबर्स तो आई सेव. तो सम ऑफ द सक्सेस स्टोरीज आर इवन रिकॉर्डेड बाय BBC न्यूज एंड आर ऑन द वेब. यू कैन फाइंड इट कि जो लोगों को ये marketmirchi.com से जो ग्रामीण एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को फायदा हो गया, फार्मर्स को फायदा हो गया. सो दिस इज द जर्नी सो फार, and I think it is around 2 o'clock, so I am open for the question and answers.
Thank you, ma'am. We can go ahead with Q&A session.
Ma'am, how people can get onboarded onto your platform, or they reach out to you?
Very easy, sir. I have already told you, and the video which we generally share, but here we are not sharing क्योंकि ये जो सारे stakeholders है, उनको कोई सिखाने की जरूरत नहीं है. But help video is there on the marketmirchi.com, and it is very very simple interface. और जो गांव के किसान हमारे कर सकते हैं, तो ये हमारे बच्चे या आपके जो incubators है या startups है, वो तो definitely कर सकेंगे. And I will tell you one funny thing. The people are even selling gobar on marketmirchi.com. ये मैंने उसने बंदे ने इतनी बढ़िया ऐड की है, देसी गाय का शुद्ध गोबर होम हवन के लिए. एंड ही इज मींस एबल टू गेट फाइंड बायर्स. उसको 3 बायर्स भी मिले. तो ये बहुत सिंपल यूआई है. और किसी को अगर हेल्प लगी तो marketmirchi.com के हेल्प मेन्यू में मेरा मोबाइल नंबर भी दिया है.
Okay.
And one thing, जैसे मैंने बोले कि we are barter proposals we accept. Like आपको एक marketmirchi.com पे ऑडियो वाला बस स्टैंड की मेन में लिंक दिखेगी. They are now our strategic partners. ऑडियो वाला बस स्टैंड का कंसेप्ट ऐसा है कि वो भारत के मैक्सिमम बड़ी बस स्टैंड्स पे जहाँ पे रूरल ऑडियंस रहता है, उनके जिंगल्स प्ले करते हैं. So they are now playing marketmirchi.com 20 seconds jingle throughout 24 hours on 100 bus stands in India, free of cost. And because they understand that it is a social initiative. और मैंने उनको ये बोला कि भैया आप किसानों के लिए या ग्रामीण लोगों के लिए जिंगल प्ले करेंगे तो they will attracted to listen कि अरे मैं मेरा मार्केटिंग भी कर सकता हूँ. So they are now playing it free, and in turn we have given their link on the front page at the prominent place of marketmirchi.com. Like that, the big companies when contact us, we tell them that we can give you a lead place in that category, provided you give some discount through marketmirchi.com. Means if you are giving some discount for your products, if you are saying that if somebody will contact me through marketmirchi.com, I will give him or her 10% discount on my product. And that is very easy. And some companies, some startup companies are following it, because somebody when contacts you, you get a SMS, he or she will also get a SMS. So based on that SMS, you can give them a discount. So that is also the model for big companies we are using. Not big companies, but the mid-sized companies. Big companies like John Deere and this Jain Irrigation, we have a strategic partnership. Like उनके जो dissemination programs होते हैं, उसमें they tell us about marketmirchi.com and something like that as a social initiative. So any question?
Anybody else? They can unmute themselves and ask.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Sir, may I?
पूछिए पूछिए.
Yeah, go ahead, Anup.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, आपका जो भी initiative है वो बहुत अच्छा है, and we really like it. Basically, India की grassroots level पे काम करने वाले लोगों में हमारा एक personal interest रह रहा है last बहुत सारे सालों से. Definitely, जो भी हमारे साथ में connected बहुत सारे किसान हैं और जो भी लोग हैं जिनको कुछ करना है, जिनका प्रोडक्ट बेचना है, तो हम डेफिनेटली marketmirchi.com जो है उसको सजेस्ट डेफिनेटली करेंगे. और आपका एडवाइस उनके लिए रहेगा, तो we'll also invite you for some guest lecture or there. So we need your help for that. And Nilesh sir also, thanks for this wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I am always open for webinars. Yes, and even hands-on training if possible, because hands-on training are 4 times more effective for this rural segment.
Definitely. Actually, we are
अभी मेरा कोरोना का फर्स्ट वैक्सीन हो गया है. By April, I will start moving.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Actually, we connected with almost of 1,25,000 rural Maharashtrian peoples.
Yeah.
So over the social media. So we will definitely promote and get them gathered in one platform for marketmirchi.com. And definitely with the chamber and Entrout will invite you for that shortly.
Yeah. Power of social media, I have noticed so much that I have developed a new theory which will be coming in the e-learning course published by the अपना कौन सा MKCL or soon available करेंगे, that how to leverage social media. क्योंकि सोशल मीडिया में भी मार्केटिंग करने का एक अपना तरीका होता है, and which I have found out because I did not have any budget. अगर मैं फ्री में कुछ कर रही हूँ तो ये मेरे से भी एक्सपेक्टेड नहीं है कि मैं फेसबुक एड्स पे या गूगल एड्स पे पैसा खर्च करूँ. तो आई हैव फाउंड आउट द वे एंड इट वाज वेरी वेरी इफेक्टिव. तो आज marketmirchi.com के लोग आपको, यू विल फाइंड बेनिफिशियरीज नॉट इवन इन इंडिया. इंडिया में तो खासी गारो हिल्स से डाउन साउथ तक there are beneficiaries of sellers and buyers for marketmirchi.com, but even from Sri Lanka, Nepal and Ukraine. That is the power of social media. You have to leverage it, and that I have learned because what marketmirchi.com has given me, that it has multi-skilled me. क्योंकि digital marketing तो मैं कभी नहीं करती थी. So now I am an expert in digital marketing, and now I am becoming expert in artificial intelligence.
Great, ma'am. We'll connect with you. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, Nilesh sir, hands over to you.
Yeah. Anybody else? I see. I think Trupti was going to ask the question.
No, I was going to ask. Ma'am, you said you were reaching sellers initially. What about buyers? How did you reach buyers?
जैसे मैंने बताया ना कि initially we have to leverage social media, and then our that scrapper module came, artificial intelligence. Through that module also we reach buyers, and जब ऐसे हो गया कि sellers बढ़ रहे, then one threshold come. Now buyers are automatically coming. Now this is a threshold stage. So as the number of sellers are increasing, number of buyers are increasing. But initially, yes, I have to take efforts to connect sellers as well as buyers. And then some technology, then some supply chain events. Before Corona also, I used to attend many events, supply chain events and all that event. That also helped.
Because I think before it becomes like a marketplace is when more and more buyers will come. When they see that they're getting all the products.
Now that threshold has come. Now that threshold has come. But sincerely speaking, I have to spend at least 4 to 5 hours a day for the social media marketing, some technology related work and all that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else? Otherwise, maybe one last question, because I know Madam has another program at 2:10.
And it is for real stakeholders, self-help groups.
Yeah. I think one of the person who's attending, Bindu Moria, she said that, Madam, you proved age is just a number. When one is
Yes.
determined to achieve, there is no age for learning and development.
Yes, and one thing I want to share here, that life begins at 60. ये भी एक मैंने नया किया, because at 60, if you are, by God's grace, if you are lucky that all your family responsibilities are finished and your requirements can be taken care by for almost 30 years if you live, then you should concentrate on some giving back to society work. So that will help you become younger.
Madam, I had asked this question to the earlier speaker also, especially for women or women entrepreneur or career women. How do you balance work life? Of course, it's becoming crucial for men also during Corona, with they handling a lot of household work, but especially for women.
So the same thing which Madam had told, and I was not also very cool like her when I was of her age. I got angry if मेरे काम वाली नहीं आई और किसी सॉफ्टवेयर की डेडलाइन है और फिर ऑफिस में भी खूब काम, because I was multitasking, क्योंकि मैं मेरा गवर्नमेंट जॉब भी पकड़ के रखी थी for a steady income, and I was also growing my company Megamind Infotech. So and that is the age of hormonal imbalance also. That also I have noticed that up to 50 it is really tough. Children are growing, families demands are growing, money need also growing, and professional pressure also growing. But after 50, everything धीरे धीरे सब automatically come hote gaya, and otherwise I can say I have learned to handle the pressure. And now at the age of 60, ये मेरा initiative ऐसा है कि I have no expectations from it. So it is going, people are getting connected, people are getting market linkages, so it is fine for me. So it is one other advantage is, since it is not any entrepreneurship or any NGO, it is not giving me any tensions to bother. It is working, it is helping people, I am happy. I am utilizing my time best for the society. And one question you have forgotten to ask is, many people ask me, what about its sustainability, right? Looking at my age, they ask, कि आज तो चल रहा है, मैडम चली गई तो कैसे चलेगा? But I will tell you that since it is a very lean model, I have developed a software, and software एक बार develop हो गया तो फिर उसमें ज़्यादा ये नहीं रहता है, website जो भी develop किया मैंने portal. So now the running charges will be around 1 lakh per year. And that I can easily manage, or anybody of us can easily manage from our savings if we want to decide to do some good work. So it will be sustainable forever. It will be helping rural India forever. And that is my dream.
Thank you very much. Very noble thoughts. And thank you for accepting our invite and being here. So now I request Diksha to maybe propose the vote of thanks, and we can close so that Madam
Yes.
can also join her next session.
Okay, I would like to propose a vote of thanks. Sincerely thank you to Dr. Deepa Bajekar ma'am and Dr. Pragati Gokhale ma'am for an enlightening, empowering and enthusiastic session on today's occasion. Thank you, Ritesh Mathur sir. And I would like to thank our support partners, AFST Mumbai, Chapter, Entra O2 and NetProfan. And thank you all the participants for attending. I declare the session has ended.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.